Hey, everybody. Here we are on the In Dating podcast, sponsored by Events and Adventures. My name is Mark Owen. I'm here today with Michele Robbins, and we are going to talk about the benefits and the problems and the struggles of owning real estate when you're single. You know, it's a lot easier for people when you're married and you have two incomes and you get to do all that kind of stuff. And if you're single, either you've never been married or you're single again, it can be a lot more challenging. So we're going to talk about both those. I think let's talk first about like first time home buyer and that kind of stuff when you are single before you've ever been married or anything. What are the challenges of that? And give us some advice on that, Michele. Wait, by the way, Michele is a great real estate. She's actually my real estate, but she's absolutely spectacular. She's done a lot of seminars. She helps a lot of people to learn how to do real estate. She has her own podcast, which I'm going to let her tell you about in a second. So she's absolutely an expert on the subject. And I know you're an agent in Arizona and here in Florida.
Yes.
Any other states?
Not yet.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. 2 states is enough for right now. And I know you're fantastic. Like I said, I can personally vouch for the fact that you've done a fantastic job for several people in my family,
Great.
including my wife.
I appreciate the.
Let's talk about singles. Yeah, let's talk about singles and buying real estate. What are the challenges that you find and how can they overcome?
So there's several challenges that people face when first buying real estate as a first-time home buyer, because there is no class that you go to in, elementary school, junior high, or high school. And most parents, I don't care what your, age demographic is. We were actually just talking about this on our podcast. We don't get taught how to buy a house. It's kind of like a doctor doesn't get taught how to do surgery through that phase of life. So you have to seek additional training and or support to do those things. And same goes when you go to, say you've already bought a house and then you're ready to sell the house. Nobody teaches you that, growing up as well. You learn how to ride a bike, you learn your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s, and you learn, a lot of other things, but nobody teaches you how to do real estate. And because real estate is state specific as well, for your state or your city specifically, you're going to deal with different challenges. In Arizona, we have our challenges. In Florida, we have a different set of challenges. With especially, the hurricanes and, our recent hurricanes, that have caused additional challenges. But to back up.
Well, but your advice is going to be helpful to people in no matter which state they're in.
No
right?
matter what state, is the thing is to get the appropriate help, to get started. Find either a real estate agent in your local area that get some leverage on. A lot of people will go to Google, and I don't say that Google is your best place to go. I say talk to someone like, and trust, and say, who did you use and what was your experience like? You can get the best referrals that way so that that you're being taken care of by someone who has already helped someone. But if for example, you don't want people to know your business, then you can go to Google, you can go to Facebook or Instagram, and, you can type in keywords and it will pull up based on your area, something that you might be looking for. Most people will also look at Zillow just to start kind of getting an idea what they want before they hire an agent. So you can kind of get an idea of the home, the area that you want to be in proximity to maybe where you work or where you maybe have kiddos that go to school, so that you can find out where you want to be. But it's really going to be.
So,
go ahead.
So as a single person, you're going to have different priorities than a married person, right? I mean, married people, like when we had kids and that kind of stuff, we were like, okay, we want to pick the school district first. And then, right, for the kids. And that's the first thing. And then, kind of hopefully equidistant to where everybody's working. If you're single, what are the biggest things that you need to take into account when you're going to get a house?
Well, when you're going to get a house, you're definitely going to want to find what your comfort level is for affordability. That is going to be first and foremost because you want to set yourself up for success. And that goes for, especially if you're single, because you don't have a backup income. You don't have someone else that if, maybe you get laid off or something happens that you can fall back on to help carry you through until you get gainfully employed again. So as far as being single, this is how you can set yourself up for success is to get in contact with a really good real estate agent and a really good loan officer who specializes in your area to help guide you through that process of what you qualify for. And then you go and find a home that fits your needs and your lifestyle. If you're single, you probably are not going to want a 5-bedroom house, right? Unless you are single with, like you said, kiddos. You may want, maybe you are just, working in a position where you're only going to be there short term. You want something for maybe those year or 2, 3 years, and then you know that you're going to elevate from there. So you may want to buy something to get yourself your foot in the door, start building equity and setting yourself up for success, but also meeting your current lifestyle. Hopefully at some point, I mean, if you're a part of Events and Adventures, you may meet someone really amazing and you want to take that property that you have attained and then you may make that into either a rental property or an investment property at some time. And then, get into a home with your new significant other. But if that's
So if you're, if you're single, you might be thinking, I don't need a full house. Maybe I just need a condo, something like that. Do you think it's better because you need one, you still need 20% down. And two, you think it's better to like go into a condo first, something smaller, just so you can get into something, or you want to wait till you get a full-fledged house somewhere? Wait, answer those 2 questions for me.
So you number one, I'm gonna start by saying you don't need 20% down. There are programs, depending on if you have served, veterans can get in for 0 down. There are USDA loans where you can get in for 0 down. And there are bond programs where you can get in for as little as $1,000. There are also options where you can get into a home where you can get the seller to pay the majority, if not all, of your closing costs. The typical entry-level home, if you haven't purchased a home before, would be somewhere between the 3 to 20% range, depending on where you're at in your stage of life and what your comfort level is. Now, there are benefits by having 20% down, such as you don't have to pay additional mortgage insurance. However, there are also programs where you can forego mortgage insurance that protects your loan from, in case something happens. In other loan programs. So don't be afraid and think that you only can buy a home if you have 20% down. So to answer that question first. Secondly, if you know that you want to buy a home and you don't want to necessarily depend that you're going to meet Mr. or Mrs. Wonderful right away and you're going to do all these things and you want to have that stability for yourself, no matter where you're at in life, and you want to set yourself up where you can start building a future for when you do meet someone that you already have a home in your back pocket. Look at what your lifestyle is, give yourself a little comfort, whether that is a condo, a townhouse, or a single family home that best fits your lifestyle for the current time.
So if I'm going into a condo, what do I have to watch out? I'm thinking about the first-time homebuyers that are members of the club. They're like, what's the biggest thing you have to look out for?
So for a condo, a lot of the condos, they will require certain loan programs to be in that condo community. I will say that. As far as a condo, you do not own the property. You own the interior of that property, and then you share the common space in, it's called tenants in common. So you are going to share that community space with those other people, and it's going to have an HOA that is going to help govern that and also protect that. The good thing about a condo or even a condo and a townhouse, you don't have to usually pay for homeowners insurance. It's already built into your HOA fee, so it can save you money
That's
because
nice.
you're getting that bulk discount. If you go with a townhouse, you do own the land that the property is on, or a patio home. They have those here in Arizona, and I've seen a few in Florida. Mostly it's condos or townhouses, but there are some patio homes too, which is similar. As
What's
a
a patio
townhome.
home? You got me. What's a patio home?
Patio home is basically a townhouse. Oftentimes it is of a lesser size of a community. Townhouses can be a multitude. Patio homes are usually a smaller dwelling structure. You see a lot of
It's
those,
just these are
especially with
smaller buildings,
55
smaller
plus.
buildings.
Not buildings. It's you usually have a smaller community size. So a lot of times, instead of having say 200 townhomes, you'll have maybe a community of 100 patio homes.
So do they look different?
Not necessarily. It's just how they take title.
All right. Interesting. Okay. Sorry. Continue.
So we do see a lot of those here in Arizona and in Florida. It's also very popular with the 55 plus communities as well, or for transitional living. It's a great way to get your first home. That's what I did when I bought my first home as a single mom by myself, and before I met an amazing guy. And so that is, a good way to get your foot into home ownership, and then pivot from there when you do find someone and you're ready to expand and go into a full single family home, where you would have, most times with a single family home, you have a lot more to upkeep than you would with a patio home or condo or townhome.
Yeah. No,
Hey,
those extra, especially if it's a new one, you got all those extra costs and everything.
Yeah,
It can be really crazy. I remember the first new house we bought. I was like, damn.
yeah.
You got that 20%, and you're like, oh shit, I got another 10, 15,000 bucks I'm going to put into this house really quick. So that's something to think about. I'll tell you one thing that I got on the wrong side of once is that the mortgage insurance, if you're not putting 20% down, you want to make sure you look at that loan and make sure it's the right kind of loan, because I was in a situation where we had the mortgage insurance, then we got over 20%. And I'm like, okay, take the mortgage insurance off. And they're like, oh no, you have to refinance the whole house to get rid of that mortgage insurance, which is bullshit. I ended up just taking the house away from, just paying it off actually and doing something else. So I'm like, because the mortgage insurance can be $500 a
Wow.
month. It can be a lot of money. So you
Wow.
got to take that into account when you're thinking about it.
It's usually only a couple $100. That must have been a pretty big house. As far as FHA, they won't take off the mortgage insurance. You would have to refinance it. However, out of an FHA loan. But conventional, once you know that you have 80% equity, you're at 80% equity of the value, then you can actually have the mortgage insurance removed. But you have to ask them. They're not going to just volunteer it because they want to keep taking that money. And so
They're making the money.
kind of just keep an eye. And, if you have a really good real estate agent, they're going to probably remind you like, hey, you've owned your home, you've got XYZ amount of equity. Now, your real estate agent isn't going to know if you've refinanced or if you've taken money out, such as taken out a HELOC or anything like that. But a real estate agent will definitely stay in touch with you and be like, hey, you're gaining some equity. And so
Yeah. Now,
keep that in mind.
I'm going to give you a plug real quick, because obviously you're my real estate agent, and one of the differences of you from other real estate agents I've had in my life is you've stayed in touch with us. You've been a part of our home ownership over time, and so you've been aware of that kind of stuff, and you've talked with Andrea, my wife, about that, and I think that's something, if you're looking for a real estate agent, if you're trying to find one and the person you're talking to says, oh yeah, and they stayed in touch with me afterwards and they have my back after the sale, I think that's a real feather in the cap of a real estate agent. It's an indication of someone who really is a professional versus someone who's just like hoping to get a quick sale and move on. And because of that, I mean, obviously we end up buying another house when we moved here to Florida. Literally, you got your agent license here so you could be our agent on it, and did a fantastic job. So somebody is looking for a real estate agent in Arizona or Florida, I would recommend her highly, obviously. So yeah, of course. But so let's flip to the other group now. Let's talk about people there. You had your kids, you had your marriage, all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden you end up single again, and you've gone through divorce. There's all that disruption. You're not the one that got the house. So now, what are the challenges you're going to run into? Because you're like, okay, I have a kid still. I want to be in a house. What are the kind of challenges you run into in that situation, and how do you overcome?
A lot of times the challenges come with having to stay close for the kiddos. If you've had a failed marriage and, you find yourself single again, you still want to stay within usually a proximity for the kiddos so that they can still be, or the courts require it a lot of times, that you still need to be in a certain area. So you also have changes with parental custody and time with those kiddos, and you may or may not either have child support or receive child support. And so you need to be aware how that's going to affect you when you go to qualify for a new home. So with that whole process, getting yourself set up for success is going to look like, okay, this is what we expect to happen. I always recommend doing that as soon as possible so that you can, kind of navigate those waters and make a plan for success. So that way, okay, this is the area I want to be in, and then make sure that it's going to be congruent with what the court order says.
So that when
there can be,
if you're getting child support, that obviously goes towards your equity or your ability to pay. If you're paying child support, it goes against it.
Yes.
Is there a way you'd want to set up the child support specifically that would make it better for you to characterize child support that would make it easier to get a house, or is it all the same?
It's going to vary by state, and it's also going to vary by judges, honestly. So there are judges that are pro, male and pro female, and then there's judges that are just, they don't care. And so you really have to kind of go with what is formidable in your area. And so that's where just communicating with your agent and your loan officer as to what they need, and then they will give you maybe some ideas or tweaks, if you will, on way to best set it up. I will say that if you are legally separated and you're not fully divorced yet, you're going to have a harder time qualifying because you're not going to be able to use child support for
you use both incomes, even though you wouldn't want to. You end up using both incomes in that situation, right?
Well,
and if you're not divorced, they're gonna lock that X into that real estate contract, right?
It really depends by state, because in Florida, it doesn't matter. You both have to be on the note if you're married, regardless.
Okay.
Or in Arizona, for example, you can buy a home and do,
separate finances.
Separate.
Wow.
And
interesting.
So you can have them do what we call a disclaimer deed, so that person, your ex, can't be on, even if you're, going through all the motions, but it's not done yet. Yeah, you have to have that disclaimer deed, otherwise they can take ownership of that property, or keep you from doing what you need to with that property.
Yeah, I know my daughter was married to a guy. They're not completely divorced yet. She had to be careful because she has a house. She passes away, it still goes to her ex because they haven't finalized the dang divorce. Are you hearing me, kid?
Yeah,
You
we
gotta
know.
take
I
care
know
of
what
that
you're
kind of stuff.
talking about.
There you go. Yes, yes, we do. We should make her listen to this. Yep.
But yes, we work specially with her with that situation because he has to be on her on her note and her title. He has to be on it.
So it's also true if she passes away, he gets stuck with a bill.
That could happen. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. So, or
That can be a rough one. Pay attention to that, man. If you're going through that stuff, you got to pay really close attention to that stuff. So here's another one, a different person. And I talked to you about this a little bit too at one point. I have a friend who's living with a woman, wonderful woman, uh, might be getting married at some point, but they're not married and they're looking at buying a house together. Give me your advice on that. Whether you should do it. What are the pitfalls? Can you do combined finances, or how's that going to work?
so that is again another state specific thing. And I will err on the side of caution with that. And I say that because just because you think everything's great doesn't mean it will be great. And you need to treat it as if it's a business relationship and have everything in writing. Even though you think everything's great now, if something goes sideways, and it can, or if something, let's just say, for example, if something happens to one of you and you are in a relationship and one of you passes away or becomes unable to perform the expected duties of that homeownership, you could actually put yourself in a really bad position with the family of that party.
Right?
If, for example, if one of them were to pass away and you don't have your title vested correctly, then you could end up losing out on the home or get kicked out
Because their interest goes to
to the
the
family
family who don't like you to
or the
start with
children
or whatever.
or the heirs based on how it is drafted in a will, a trust, whether it be a living will and trust, or if it's a irrevocable or revocable trust. There's so many different moving parts, and it really, really can get hairy and nasty, and people can be nasty. And
Yeah.
I've even seen it where people refuse to leave and then they destroy the house just to get back at the family, even though their
No,
family member that you signed that agreement with, there was so much love and everything was great. But all of a
yeah.
sudden things go sideways.
I don't know.
People are not
Long,
always.
long story short, if you're not married, oh, hell no. Hell no. Don't do that. You're an idiot. If you don't love them enough to marry them, you don't know them well enough to get a house with them. And
Or make sure you
when
have
I
a
first went into
lot in
business,
writing.
no, no, I
No,
don't care. You can't have enough. You cannot put enough in writing to not end up in a ball of twine, in my opinion. Especially if you're young, you just don't know. And even if you're older, I've been in a lot of agreements, and if someone doesn't want to be in it, you have hell to pay. It's better just to not do it, and to figure something else out, I think. But
be safe
when I
versus
first went into
sorry.
business, when I first went into a business, back in long, long time ago, and I didn't even say it, I own Events and Adventures, social club for singles. If you're single and you want to come have some fun, come be a part of our link is down below. But when I first started, I talked to the only rich man I know, the only truly rich man I know. And I had a situation where somebody wanted to be my partner. And I went to him and I said, I'm thinking of taking on a partner. What do you think? And he goes, partners are great as long as one of the partners is dead. I said, do not ever have a partner ever in your life. I went, okay. He wasn't talking about marriage. He was married. But in business, you're asking for trouble because you don't, all of a sudden you're going to make a decision. Someone else has a veto. And so it's a thing. So I definitely, if you don't love them enough and you're not in a place where you're married, you should not be getting a house together or even a condo, even a dog. You might not get the dog. What are you going to do? So, I guess you could start with a dog, right? One of you can keep the dog. But yeah, I would have given him that advice. I didn't want to be, digging around his life when my friend came to me about that. But It's because you don't want to give people advice, because if they're wrong, they hate you. And so it's better just to tell them to do their own best judgment, and you'll support them, and you're a friend, and, try not to give
Seek
too much advice
counsel.
if you don't have to.
Seek.
Though I did give him advice to buy XRP, and he bought some XRP, and it went up and he made some money, and he sold it last week, and it's up 30% since he sold it. I'm like, dude, you're set. It's the way it goes. You ought to make your own decisions. But so what other advice would you have for singles and homeowners, and, doing it on your own in the 40s, 50s, 60s? What advice do you have that's specific, like, to singles, that might be relevant?
Specifically to singles, I'll answer that side of it, is just do your homework, do your due diligence. Don't get involved in something you can't handle on your own. And then be prepared that if anything were to happen to you, that whether you are, no matter what, that you update your will and trust. I do a lot of probate stuff, and, people, if you don't have everything spelled out how you want things with your property, it can get hairy, right? I will say the same for people that are older, because all the more reason you're getting closer to whatever end of life could be. It's more probable that that's going to happen sooner than later, even though tomorrow's never promised regardless. So you make sure that you get all your ducks in a row now. And it's, you just got to plan for success regardless. And that is the best advice. And I would say that as you get older too, you may be in a position where you've got, parents or loved ones or even kids that are going through different stages of their lives. And you may find yourself where you're the person who they need to have as a sounding board, or you may have to help put, mom or dad or, whomever into an assisted living space or a casita on your property or a next gen home. There's so many different moving parts, and having a professional real estate agent and a professional legacy planner that can help you with your estate and protect you for all the transitions that you go through in life, from single to married to, above and beyond, single again, wherever you're at, you're going to go through different phases. And to have what I like to call your life team, your realtor for life, your lender for life, the people that you can go to, your people that you can trust to guide you through all of the phases
Yeah,
of life.
no, absolutely. I think 100% it's good to have what they call gestalt of unpaid advisors, people in your life that you trust, that don't have a dog in the fight, that maybe have some life experience. They say, they tried to tell people not to trust your elders now, but older people have been through some stuff. And, if you find people like that, that'll talk to you, like me with this guy, he's a great guy. I love him to death. He's a young guy. And, he'll ask me things, and I'll give him my advice. It's worth what you paid for it. Take it or leave it. Right. And I try to give him my best advice. I don't have any reason to steer him wrong. And sometimes it's like, okay, I went through this, and, like with the insurance thing, I went to refinance because I got rid of that. I got up 20%. And I was like, oh no, you're not going to do that. Are you kidding me? And so when you've been through stuff, you remember it, and you understand it a little better than somebody just in a textbook. And I think that's just really important to have those people around you, because even if you get a great real estate agent, they will be on your side. But you never know, really, at the beginning. After years, we know you're on our side because we've used you for a long time. I didn't trust you from Adam when you started working for us, right? I was like, who is this woman? Why is she wanting to help us? And it was a time of quality work that brought us to trust you the way we do. And I would say, for anybody that's looking for a house in Arizona, obviously Michelle's amazing at it, and you will not go wrong by having her help you. And in Florida too. I would say Tampa area, because you don't really know the rest of Florida. Tampa because
Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete's. Yeah.
Yeah, but the Arizona, Arizona really, really well.
Born and raised. Yes, absolutely. I appreciate that.
And
And I love working with you. I love helping. If real estate was something that I did forever, I would absolutely be thrilled and happy to do it because it is my passion. And I love helping people through the vehicle of real estate, answering those questions and being that guide, that support for all my people.
yeah, my wife redo the ceiling in the kitchen, did a fantastic job. She's like, you guys should do this.
I
And
will talk
I'm
to
like,
you
oh
more,
my God, what are we
Miley.
doing? And then it turned out amazing. It's really beautiful and wasn't that expensive. It was really great stuff. And
We've
so
knocked
if you
out
are
whole
single,
walls together, Mark, and
right?
we've done lots of fun and cool
And
things.
most real estate agents, no way they're going to help you with that. But
How many people get up on ladders? As I say,
absolutely.
20-foot ladders.
But if you are single and you don't want to buy a house alone, then, join Events and Adventures, meet somebody amazing, get married, and then, the house is half the price in a way because you got someone else paying for it with you. And to give a quick plug about Events and Adventures at the end of this, if you don't know about us, we do 30 or 40 events every month for our members. We are a private club. You do have to be single. And we do everything from whitewater rafting, skydiving, trips, parties. We're just getting back from a trip to Cuba right now. And if you are single and you want to meet somebody, it's a great place to do it. If you just want to have a good time and have a part of your lifestyle, that's great too. We have members that have been members 10, 15 years. We're in 15 cities. And the link's down below, eventsandadventures.com. Feel free to give us a call if you want. Was it 1-800-386-0866? You can
Do
reverse it
yourself
back.
a favor and call. Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Meet
No, we've had,
quality, fun people and have a good time living the life you dream.
that's right. And a lot of people got married. I got married. It's like Hair Club for Men. I met my wife in the club. And one of the reasons that I think my marriage is amazing, has gone so long and over 30 years, is because I didn't have to settle. I was able to go to the club. I was able to meet a lot of women and find the perfect woman for me. And if that appeals to you and being able to go out and have a good time, get to know them first and find out what they're like before you date them, our club's the best way to go on that. So anyway, thank you very much, Michele, for coming on today. I very much appreciate it. And I think there was a lot of great information in there for singles. And if you're not single, there's still good information on real estate and especially in the Arizona and Florida area. It's good information for you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I just wish you all the love and success that you can have and living the life of your dreams through Events and Adventures and great people like Mark Owen and his amazing team of people. They're just all phenomenal. And I'm just so thrilled to be a part of and connected with some incredible people that truly have your best interests at heart.
There you go. You made me blush. Another plug on the back end. So I wasn't looking for that, but thank you very much. Well, I will
Absolutely.
talk to you soon.